on the water with me. You will not fade. You will not fade. Come on and walk on the water with me. Yeah. Come on and walk on the water with me. You will not fail. You will not fail. Make a move in faith. Launch on out in the deep. Be courageous and get down off that ground. Keep your eyes on me. Don't mind the waves and the wind. There ain't nothing gonna stop us now. Come on and walk on the water with me. Come on. Walk on the water with me. You will not fail.
All right, so a very good evening to you here on Joy 99.7 FM. Today is Sunday, the 15th of October 2023, 3 minutes after the hour of 9. My name is Atuakwa, and you are warmly welcome. This is A Walk with Jesus. You are very welcome to your favorite Christian talk show on 99.7 megahertz, Joy FM. It's already 3 weeks of gaining knowledge and how to deal with offenses in marriage from our experienced and resourceful guests. And I believe you will agree with me that it's been a very fruitful journey so far. It's been worth every time we spent discussing the subject. Lots and lots of lessons have been learned. Tonight, we'll try to draw the curtains on the discussion with a focus on dealing with spouses who draw their children into marital offenses, among other things. We are confident that the insights will continue to bless you and your home, in fact, your marriage. A discussion definitely will follow after I serve you with a beautiful piece of music coming from the ministry of Celestine Donko. Once again, you're warmly welcome. This is A Walk with Jesus. My name is Atuakwa. I'm ably supported by my able producers, Michaela Nai and Abraham Ofosu Ofori. Pick a phone, call friends, call loved ones, tell them to tune in to Joy 99.7 FM. Your questions and contributions are very welcome via our WhatsApp platform, 055 1111 997. That's 055 1111 997. And then on the Joy FM Facebook page, that's Joy 997, and on YouTube as well. So do well to connect, share the links, share so that friends and loved ones will get connected and be blessed. We're discussing dealing with offenses in marriage, part 3. Enjoy this piece of music, and then when I come back, we'll zoom off into discussion. This is Odo, coming from the ministry of Celestine Donko. Beautiful song. Enjoy it.
Mama butoyem, mami aretitire, danida, utiseni amutie, onsisado.
Amma mamenyua wachi. I'll try it to me. Nasumatra buda, nazemolam ina. Madawo, So from an apparent, not true, Ninara. Ever, me, also, work was Uncle Mardoy,
That's Odo coming from the Ministry of Celestine Donko. Beautiful song. I love the acoustic feel, And much as we are discussing marriage, we should put into consideration the agape love factor. That makes it what it must be, right then. So we are still tuned in. If you're tuned in, this is A Walk with Jesus, and we are discussing the subject of dealing with offenses in marriage. In fact, this week's edition is the part 3. It's been an interesting journey so far. Let me first of all introduce my resourceful guests, and then we'll zoom off into discussion. Joining us via Zoom is Pastor Andrew Anesi Yakwa. Pastor Yakwa is a counselor and a pastor as well. And he's joining us via Zoom all the way from Kumasi, the Garden City. Also, a very good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Osofo, and then good evening to your listeners, and then Mama Tess.
Good evening, Osofo.
Right. I hope church was beautiful today.
Yes, it was.
We bless the Lord.
We're also preparing for tonight, so.
Right. I can imagine. And then in the studios is Mrs. Teresa Wiafia Sante. She's a counselor and founder of Beulah Life Consult. Mama Tess.
Yes,
very good evening to you.
Good evening. Yes,
right.
Good evening.
Why if you're there?
That's super. Thank you very much.
Right. Then I want to first of all say a big thank you to both of you for helping us embark on such a wonderful journey. And I believe that marriages have been healed, are still being healed, even as we've been dealing with this very important subject. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you very much. I think we have been seriously honored, myself and Osofo, to have been here for 3 weeks. I mean, it's amazing.
Yes.
Osofo, I'm speaking your mind, right? So thank you very much to you.
Yes, true.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Right. So far, Pastor Nesi, I personally have learned a lot of things, but just to touch on a few of them regarding our discussion, from the first episode even until now that we're about to do the third. And among the many things I've learned is that, one, irrespective of the crisis any marriage gets into, if the two will decide and be deliberate about the decision to make it work, they can still make it work. There is nothing like this is not workable. As long as they put their heads together and decide to make it work, irrespective of who did what and how bad it was, it can still work out. Will I be right if I'm saying so, Pastor Anesi?
Yes, I think you are spot on. I tell people that when it comes to marriage is spelled work. Unfortunately, for many of us, what we do is that when it comes to even our marital preparations, we prepare for the wedding and we don't prepare for the marriage. The marriage is a long haul. Sometimes when you see two people who are about preparing to get married and you ask them how preparations are going, they will tell you we bought the ring, we bought the gown and all that. But how many people will even tell you that we are prepared emotionally for the marriage? Because we need to get into marriage with a mindset that we are not perfect. And our spouse too is not going to be perfect. As a matter of fact, even the first marriage that was in the Bible, that was even ordained by God himself, was not even a perfect marriage. Yes, the marriage between Adam and Eve was not even a perfect marriage. So once we understand that marriage is not between angels, that's human beings who are going to marry, then we should also know that there are going to be issues, there are going to be disagreements, there are going to be conflict situations. It is our ability to be able to navigate through all these things that will determine whether the marriage will work or not. So basically, marriage is work.
That's interesting. Thez, another thing I've learned, so far, is that in dealing with offenses, if we really want the marriage to heal, we've got to look beyond self. Rather than dealing with personalities, we would have to look at the issues, deal with the issues, and set self aside. That's another major lesson I've learned, so far in the discussion. Will I be right?
Yes, you are very right, sir. It's interesting that most often than not, we choose to deal with the person instead of dealing with the issue on the table. So we run around insulting, being disrespectful, and sometimes we don't even touch the matter at all. So yes, that is where we get it all wrong. But I think it is about time we start touching the issues rather than touching their personalities. It gives an impression that I hate you, I don't like you. But agreeing to disagree...
You are my problem.
Yes, you... So agreeing to disagree is part of what we should understand. The fact that we are a couple and all is well doesn't mean everything should not be, we are agreeing on everything or we are disagreeing. But sometimes we can really agree to disagree and we are still there, everything is fine.
Right.
So certainly.
Right. I'm very sure that you also have learned some lessons. You can jot them down if you've been following the series so far. Today, we're going to delve into another dimension of the same subject of dealing with offenses in marriage. I want us to begin on the premise of drawing children into conflicts, marital conflict, especially when they are about hitting their teens, and this, I dare to say, that most of the time it's the wives, who are guilty of that. Why do parents bring children, into their conflicts? Is it deliberate?
First of all, this particular issue is very dear to my heart because I was also a victim.
I see.
I grew up.
If you don't mind, you can share your experience, Osofo.
Yes. I grew up in an environment where there were conflicts in the house, and what my mom did was to pollute us, especially because I was the firstborn. What she did was to pollute us against our father. So my father appeared like a demon to us. That is how I saw my dad. And for years, we had an estranged relationship. I would not talk to him. I would not relate with him. And at a point when I got married, and then at a point my father started getting sick. So I tried as much as possible to rekindle the relationship we had in the past. But unfortunately for me, it was too late. And I recall when my father unfortunately he passed on. And when my father was laid in state, that was when reality hit me. I realized that it was better to even have a drunk father than to have a dead father.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, because there were issues. As of now, I wish he was alive, and I wish I could share a lot of things with him. I wish I could share my victories with him. I'm sure even if he was alive, he would have been listening to us.
Yes.
And so many parents don't know the harm they are causing their children when they try to bring their children into their marital conflict. And what happens is that they try as much as possible to. What happens is that when they try as much as possible to win over their children.
Yeah.
So the children have to choose which of the parents they are going to be very loyal to. Okay, so it's going to be a loyalty issue here. Most of the times, children choose the one they feel can help them. All right, so if I feel that my daddy can help me, I'll take my father's side. If I feel my mother can help me, I'll take my mother's side. And there has been a lot of homes that have been destroyed because some parents have decided to bring children into their conflict instead of shielding them from some of these conflicts.
Well, I want to not to take the wind out of your sail, man of God. Still hinging on your personal experience with your mom, talking to you about your dad and his faults and what he's not doing right and all of that. Was it that she didn't have a shoulder to cry on? Her only hope was her children, or it was just a matter of she trying to let you know the reality on the ground?
Maybe on her side, she was trying to let us know the reality on the ground. However, she should have known that at a certain age, children are not supposed to be part of marital conflict. Yeah. I was a young man who was growing. I think I was around the age of 11, 12. I was in my early teens. And I don't think I was matured enough to be able to handle some of those issues.
Well, because you were the firstborn, probably she thought that you could show that.
And this thing really affected me psychologically. I had low self-esteem because in my mind I felt that we were the reason why our parents were fighting. Okay, so I kept blaming myself. I was depressed for most part of my teen. I had anxiety attack and all that. And the sad aspect is that my father didn't get to explain his side of the story. Because I heard only one side. And based on that, I took a decision based on what I've heard from my mother, and instead of listening to my father's side, so I ended up very bitter and all that. So I think that in my mother's situation, what she should have done was to probably speak to a third party that she could trust, an older person, instead of trying to draw us the children in. So that's my personal experience.
That's interesting. We'll come to how you healed, because I'm very sure that there are a couple of people under the sound of our voice who share same story, and you would be in the position to help. And then also being a pastor who deals closely with youth as well. I know that in our generation there are a lot of youth who are also suffering because of this parental frictions. We'll come to how to heal out of that. But let me come to Mama Thez. Your thoughts thoughts about this practice?
I am glad that Osofo has shared his experience. It is always better to hear from somebody who understands not the theory, who understands, who experienced it. Let me start this way. There's an adage which says that if two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Let me quickly say that the marriage is between the man and the woman. The children are not part of the marriage. They are only the blessing of the marriage. And again, they are the icing on the cake. Everything that has to do with the marriage is between the husband and the wife. And so when we, because they are just the blessing, it is very important to know how to deal with them in these matters. And many of us, especially, so I'm still saying that many of us, especially wives, do not know what to do. At this point, we draw them in thinking that they need to know. But if even they need to know, we are not, for many women, we are not telling the children the exact truth.
If your 12, 13-year-old son gets to know that probably his father is not treating you well, what will he do?
Right, he won't do anything. So exactly what happens to all of them, exactly what happens to all of them is that because they get to listen to only one side, and some of them are not able to get to listen to the other side, they stick with what they have heard, and they begin to brood over it, and they begin to get angry about it.
They become bitter,
and eventually they hate the other person. And so that is what. But let me again say, couples should understand that children, psychologists say as little as even 4 months to between 4 months and onwards are able to tell the kind of atmosphere within which they live. 4 months. They tell. So for me, a home is not where we live. It is the kind of atmosphere within which we live. The atmosphere of peace, of love, of tranquility, of cohesion, of understanding. All of that is why a family can live in the slum. And they still are in the home because the atmosphere that they live in is a beautiful one. It doesn't matter whether they don't have food to eat. Everybody is everybody's friend, brother. And so that is basic about it. And most of the time, so if little children like this are able to determine what environment, the atmosphere within which they live, then couples should not think that when there is chaos and there is friction and there is distress in the home, the children don't know. They have a way of knowing there's stress, but they don't understand. They don't know what it is, but they feel the stress. And so, you as parents fighting, there are parents who fight even before the children. They actually fight. They insult one another before the children. Sometimes, doing this, you are drawing them in unknowingly. You have not told them anything, but you are drawing them in. That a child's greatest security is the love the parents share, not what they give them, what they both share. So Osofo is my husband. The love me and you share is the child's security. If we are doing well, they are doing well. If we are not doing well, they are not doing well. And that is very, very important to know. There is a point where children can be made to know what is happening. But there is an age where they need to know. At that age, between little 7-year-olds to 17-year-olds, it's too early and a time to let them know. Though they are able to notice a lot of things, but if one person tries to pull them to their side so that they would have sympathy kind of for them, then they are doing them a lot of disservice. It is certainly not right. Some of the times you can't even explain to these children exactly what is happening.
But those who practice this, is it that they don't have anybody to speak to? Especially the women.
I keep saying that our orientation over time has not been too good, has not been helpful. So they are telling you, society is telling you, there is a little difficulty in your home, and you don't have to share with anybody. don't tell anyone. And the women are the first to always step out and tell people. Women will always find a way to exhale. And from Anibefin dream, women will speak to whoever they will speak. Last week I was in a taxi. A woman just stopped the taxi, just when she started in the taxi, she started asking, driver, why do you men do this? Why are you men like this? Then she started crying and she said a lot. And so this woman, she doesn't know any of us, but she started talking. A woman will find a way to exhale. I pray that our husbands, our recent husbands and husbands years to come, will begin to stop the men don't talk too much thing, so that they will also find a way to exhale, because it sits so much in their minds and it deals with them so badly. And at the end of the day, they are getting panic attacks, they are getting stroke, they are dying unnecessarily. So yes, sometimes it is, they don't want to talk to anybody. But again, sometimes they are too overwhelmed and they don't even know. They think that the children should know. They think that they don't know what to do. And so, they end up with the children. Again, I'm saying that if even you think that the children should know, it is not painting the other person black. Yes, it has its own difficulty on the minds of the children.
That's interesting. Bad mouthing your spouse, to the children. Also, was there a point at which you were able to heal from the hurt, the pain that you expressed towards your dad, and how did you heal?
The thing about children is that children will ultimately look for their father or one of their parents. So what happened to me was that at a point in my life, I realized that I was not being fair to the old man.
It just dawned on you.
Yes, it just dawned on me that I was not being fair to the old man, because in my case, my parents were still together, and what happened was that they were using us as weapons against each other. So, for example, if my mom wants to send a message to my father, she will send it through me, even if they're in the same house. So if she has cooked, and instead of her to go and tell my father that the food is ready, she will eventually use me as a messenger to go and convey the message to the old man.
Hey, and I'll carry your vow.
Yeah.
I see.
And if the old man also wants to send a message across to my mom, I was basically the one they had to go through. So you can imagine the psychological trauma I had to do.
Yeah.
For me, I found myself in a group of friends who helped me heal, and I also found solace in God. And I grew up knowing that what you don't forgive, you will eventually become. And what you forgive, you'll be exempted from. I didn't want to end up becoming the same things my mother said about my dad. I wanted to become a different type of father to my children. So I went to God in prayer and asked him to help me to heal. And over time I healed. Unfortunately, I healed too late. By the time I healed, my old man was getting sick. And I even on his last days, I tried as much as possible to help him, but eventually I realized it was too late. And he unfortunately died. And like I said, the reality check came for me when he was laid in state, and I was standing next to him, and I felt I had a different type of relationship with him.
That's interesting. Well, if you're watching us or you're listening to us and you have an experience like that to share, you can share. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube as well. You can do so via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. I find this very, very important because a lot of families are injured. They are bleeding because of this practice. But then I trust that God has put together this this occasion as a clinic, you know, to help heal someone under the sound of our voice. Also, so if there's somebody under the sound of our voice who is saying that, Pastor, you just touched on my issue. I also I'm a victim of this. I don't know how to get out of it. I have grown with hatred in my heart, you know, towards my parent. Probably this person listening to us has the parent, mother or father, still alive. You know, the person hasn't passed on, like your case. What should be the step to take?
I think the first step you should take is to come to a realization that you are not also perfect yourself. And that once you need God's forgiveness, you should also know that when someone makes a mistake, you will also learn to forgive the person. And the second thing you should do is to seek help. Seek help from a professional if you can. Seek help from people if you can. Make sure that as much as possible, you are healed first. Then the third thing you should do is that, you see, there's something called unconditional love, where you love people in spite of. Okay. When you have unconditional love, what you are basically saying is that there's nothing you will do that will make me love you less.
Okay, so there's a point at which you love because of. And there's a point at which you love in spite of.
In spite of. So I love you in spite of whatever, whether you took care of me or you didn't take care of me, I love you. Okay, and that is a kind of love God wants us to have as Christians. We should have some unconditional love. And the third thing is that if it's possible, speak to someone who can lead you to go and talk to the person. If the person chooses to open up and own up to maybe their mistakes, fair enough. But if you don't go with that preconceived notion that if the person doesn't open up and apologize, you will not forgive the person. The truth is that forgiveness helps you better than even the person. Unforgiveness is like, I said last week, that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting that the other person to suffer the consequences. No matter what has happened, it is better to have a parent who is alive than to have a parent who is dead.
That's interesting. I'll come to you, Pastor Anesi, to talk about fathers who don't want to open up, you know, to their children, especially their sons, you know. And when I say open up, I mean being naked before them and letting them know that, you see, this is what has gone on between your mother and myself. I was wrong here. These were the reasons. I thought this. Now I know this, you know. But then keep shut. And the mothers keep talking. So it eventually plays on the view of the sons. And like you rightly said, there's a point at which you can become what you hate, you know, so the sons also grow up eventually doing the same thing that they hated in their father. I'm going to come back to you so we address that issue. But Mama Thes, for mothers, okay, who don't want to take, but then eventually would gather the children and you use the word exhale, you know, say it out to them so that she can be free and live life. What should be the posture of a mother like that?
I am still looking at couples and then moving it towards mothers. I am looking at couples learning to bond better. I am looking at couples learning to be much intimate. I am looking at couples learning to cleave more to each other. Because when the emptiness situation would happen, where we have 4 children in between us, and then, like Pastor said, our children become the referees. So we are doing this, mommy wants that, daddy wants this, and then between the two of us, we are not together. So we are using the children. Every parent should understand, you have between 24 and 30 years for all your children to leave you. If even not for marriage, they will live to somewhere else, and it will be left with both of you just the way you started your marriage. What happens when they have all left you? Why are you using them against yourselves? So when they have all left you, this is the space. It is a very huge space.
Well, at that point, they want to bring their grandchildren. That's when...
it's a very huge space. So even before we get here, I am praying that couples will learn to bond. Their children will go. They will live. Why are we fighting this much? 2, let's again talk to mothers. I have counseled a lot of mothers who have said a number of things to their children, what their fathers are doing wrong. I've also met men who have said a number of things to their children, yes, what their mother did. And so I am still saying this in this way, that way. Let us look at how to take the children out and work on our marriage. 2, there are situations that brings the children in without anybody inviting them. There's a situation where a father has stepped out of the home. He's sleeping with other women or with another woman. And it is such that the children are the ones who even get to find out first before the mother gets to know. And so the children are already angry with their father. If they are boys, they find a way of talking it over with daddy and say, listen, it is my life. You are my children. You can't talk to me. A situation where a young lady sees her mother's car at Legon and says, this car belongs to my mother. And then finds out, notices that one of her mates is using the car. Eventually finds out that it is my father who was taking my mother's car and said, I'm going to add money and give you a new car, and has given to his girlfriend. And so the girls get to know this.
And these are real situations that are happening.
And so the children are the ones who actually know first. This one, nobody has drawn them in. They have come to know. Wise children will find a way of talking to daddy. And daddy say, my friend is my life. So this is one situation. There is another situation where daddy is seeing another woman. And so if he is the main breadwinner and the woman doesn't have a job, and I think the first day we were looking at how men would even take away housekeeping money and they would take away everything from them. So his daddy who is there's no food for 3 weeks, there's no food for 1 month. Our allowances are not coming. Nobody is telling them anything. They would wonder. And so when they come to mommy, she may say, but I'm not the one who gives you money. Go and ask your father. There's something my father told me many years ago. When a married man begins to see a woman outside, like begins to misbehave, infidelity matters, he behaves like, Najuna say, you can't imagine a home man who has 4 children, and because he's angry with his wife, he's carrying 3 or 4 bags of foodstuff to his girlfriend's house and has left all his children hanging. So these children are drawn in, not because we are drawing them in, but they are drawn in. But sometimes it's because they are older. Again, there are people who are also drawn in because of parents who have drawn them in. Those ones need to be looked at carefully. But again, finally, I am saying yes and no. The no is an emphatic no. The yes is yes, because in my line of duty over the last 16, 17 years, we have been able to bring back a husband and 9 families back because their children intervened. We couldn't do anything.
Oh, really?
It took the children. Yes. The mothers left, all of them, the mothers left 3 years, 4 years. It took the children to bring them back. Recently was just in February. The woman had left because 2 women had presented their children, 21 and 17, and she didn't understand. The children took over the matter, and the mother left for 2 years, but they were able to bring their mother back. And everything is fine sorted. So it is there is no straitjacket answers for these things. Sometimes when I listen to counselors and pastors and they are saying some things, I'm like, listen, you are making too many generic statements. Sometimes we pick them on their merit. And so sometimes you can't keep everybody bonded together like that. When we sit, we pick them up. And if I have an advice for women, I pray that you will stop polluting your children against their fathers, and fathers polluting your children's mind against their mothers, and getting them to to not take sides when these things happen. It is very difficult on the minds of the children. I have counseled a lot of young people who are having a lot of difficulty dealing with these matters between their parents.
That's interesting. We'll come to where this thing turns into rebellion, on the part of the children. But also where a father is so quiet and doesn't want to be open, about this for years, and it's only the mother who is talking. Don't you think that it does more harm to the family than good? Many a time they're like, it's between me and your mother, I won't talk. But the mother is talking, and that is influencing the view of the children. I think the father should also talk in a case like that, so the children are able to, weigh both, and if they are matured, know the truth in as far as this is concerned. What do you think about it?
I think it's an issue of orientation. When it comes to the male child, the society, when the male child is even growing up, the society, and maybe he or she tries to display any emotions, or the male child is sad and is crying, what the society will tell you is memensu. So a lot of men grow up learning how to bottle up their emotions.
They say man up.
Man up, exactly. So psychologists will tell you that women are emotional, men are he-emotional, that is H-E, the emotional. What it means is that men internalize. When a man is not really happy about something, we don't talk about it. When a woman is unhappy about something, she talks about it. So that is the difference between men and women. Unfortunately for the men, sometimes it becomes too late. It becomes too late. By the time they end up wanting to open up and then talk to their children about their side of the story, sometimes it's too late. And the children are already bitter. They're already angry with them, and they don't want to relate to their fathers. If you are a father here by the sound of my voice, and you are in a situation where it looks like it's only the mother who is trying to pollute the children, I think it's fair that you let your children know your side of the story. Sometimes keeping a lot of information from them, or trying to also, you see, what most men try to do is that they think that when they do that, they are also in a way shielding the children from the conflict. Even though the mother is introducing them in. But introducing children to conflict in itself is not wrong.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Especially if you resolve the issues in a healthy manner.
Okay.
Children learn by observation. So if I see my parents sit down and then try to strike at an issue, and then without insulting each other, without shouting at each other, what I'm basically doing is that I'm learning how to resolve conflict. I'm learning negotiation skills. I'm learning problem-solving skills. I'm learning respectful communication. So sometimes shielding the children from the conflict may also be harmful in itself. What I think men should be able to do now is to let them know, at least if you see that your spouse is trying to pollute your children or trying to create a loyalty issue in the marriage, I think it's fair that you also at least call them, try and then let them know your side of the story. Maybe when you let them know your side of the story, I think it will help them to be able to make informed decisions other than just being silent. And fortunately, sometimes, like I mentioned, it's too late. By the time we want to open up, the children have already left the house, or they have formed their own opinions of us.
That's interesting. Well, how should grown-up children respond to issues like this? Some have disrespected their parents, as a result of these. And are there consequences?
Yeah. When it comes to fathers, even if a father is wrong, you must know how to deal with them. And there are several cases in the Bible where a father spoke. For example, the first time we saw an instance like this was when Noah was drunk. And the Bible says that one of his son Ham saw his father's nakedness, went and reported to the other brothers. when the father was drunk, but when he woke up, he knew what the son had done. That's what the Bible said. And he spoke a curse, and it affected him and his descendants. In the case of, I think it's Isaac, in the case of Jacob, when the mother named Benjamin Benoni, Jacob came and overturned it.
Yes.
So the blessing is in the mouth of your father. What I learned was that, fortunately for me, I got my father to speak a word of blessing over me, even after what happened.
Before he left.
When he was on his deathbed. And I tell you that especially when parents are on their deathbed, that is when their words are very potent.
Yes.
He spoke. I made sure that whatever he needed was provided for him. I tried as much as possible to bridge the gap. For the number of years I didn't spend with him, I spent some time with him. I got him whatever he wanted, because I knew that at that point in his life, whatever he said was going to happen to me. So I made sure that he got whatever he wanted. And I was not even there when my mom told me that before my father died, he spoke words of blessings over my life.
Wow.
And bear in mind, I was not there. But those words my father said have started manifesting.
Wow.
So even if you are not there, imagine if my father had spoken negative words. It would have still have manifested if you are not. So in Pennyford, we say, be careful no matter what your father has done. Be careful you don't let him speak negative words. It's better to carry his blessing than to carry a curse from your father.
That's interesting. We have a message here on Facebook from Nadede. It says that, please, I need your advice. I don't want my son to stay with my husband alone, even for a day, because of his irresponsible behavior. Is it right?
It means that they are not married, right?
She says my husband.
Okay.
But I'm sure that there's
certainly is a
crisis at home.
Certainly there is, and so she's too angry.
Yeah.
She's too angry. You see, you at the point of making a choice, you made the choice for this man. He is your husband, if he is. I mean, that is what he is, and the child belongs to both of you. So there is no reason saying that I don't want my child to stay with his father. What is it?
The child doesn't want the boy to learn from the man.
Oh, that's his father. That's his father. So to the father, if there is any wrong behavior that your wife doesn't want your child to learn from, then perhaps change. I listen to Osofo very well, and it's one of the things I have listened to, the father's blessing. Let me use this opportunity to tell fathers that sometimes, because of this message, the father's blessing, a lot of fathers are really misbehaving. They are so misbehaving. I mean, sometimes you sit at council and you are wondering how a man can leave his children and be with another woman who also have children from her own marriage and take care of these ones instead of his own. And his wife will come the whole of Accra taking care of 4 children, and so she's all peeved, she's all angry, and in the process we are looking for a father's blessing. And so a father can do everything unimaginable and comes back because we need a father's. I agree. My father's blessing is good, but I also agree that a father should be able to own up to his duties so that there won't be too many pollutions here and there. I have seen fathers who are struggling to take care of their children. They are doing everything to take care of their children, and their wives are supporting. And so the women go, "You are an irresponsible man, and your father is a irresponsible." No, that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a man who is well off, who can take care of his home, who can do things, but for the sake of his wife, because I'm angry with her, I am angry with all of you. Because I'm not angry with your mother, I won't pay your fees, you won't eat, I am sending you out of this house. Eventually, and then we are looking for a father's blessing. It is a very gray area. I agree to a father's blessing, seriously, but I am still saying, if that is what it takes,
that shouldn't warrant
then fathers should own up to their duties to their responsibilities, so that we won't have these situations.
Right.
I have met too many of them who are I don't want to use irresponsible, who are some way.
Well, Na has added on to the message. He said he sends pictures of him and his girlfriend, make video calls with his girlfriends, and show them to our son. That's extreme.
That's extreme.
Osofo?
That's extreme. Yeah, that's extreme. And it looks like, from what you are telling me, it looks like both of them are not staying in the same house.
It looks like that from the picture that's been painted. It looks like that. Will she be right to take a step like that and say that, because of your behavior, I don't want the boy to learn from you, and so I am disallowing the boy from relating with you?
I think she can disallow the boy from relating with the mother without necessarily polluting the boy, because the boy will still need a father's love in the house. So I have seen women who, in an attempt to shield their children, even shield their children from their father.
Yeah.
Okay, I know of a situation where a father is making an attempt to. They are no longer together. The father is making an attempt to support, but the woman is saying that no, you can't be in the life of the children.
Oh, that's so wrong.
Okay, and there's a father who is paying their fees, who is trying as much as possible to support the children, but the woman is using the children as a weapon against the man.
Yeah, that is true.
I think a major problem is how we go, so extreme, on both sides.
I think that you should be able to, like Mama Tess mentioned earlier, we should be able to deal with the human beings. We should be able to deal with the situations and not even the human beings. Sometimes because I hate you, I wouldn't allow you to even have access to your children. And surprisingly, some of these children grow up and then they start looking for their father or their mother.
They will look for them.
Oh yeah, Simone. Well, for families that are listening to us who are victims of what we're talking about, interestingly, time flies, so fast. We have just a few minutes to wrap up. Mama Tess, I want you to speak out of your heart to families who are dealing with issues, that we're talking about, and how they can get out of it.
Yes, we know that quite a lot of families are going through issues. There are so many husbands and wives who are too angry. My difficulty is on too angry. Yes, we are allowed to be angry, but sometimes we are too angry. I want to use this opportunity to especially speak first to our husbands. And you are the husband. You are the one who puts the family together. I keep saying that the role of a father is so crucial. It is so fundamental, such that God has to say in Isaiah 54 that I will become a father to the fatherless and a husband to the widow. It tells you how crucial the place of a father is. If you are a father, it is God's special place for you. Please do your duty well. You discharge them well with the help of God. I thank God for what Osofo said. I once met a man on Joy FM morning program, and he said, when I noticed that my wife was pregnant, I told myself I never want to behave like my father. And that was when I went into prayer. Said, God, I have told you I don't want to be like my father. Help me to become a better father. Father, your duty is a huge one. Ask for God's help to be able to deal with it. Mother, your duty is like that of the Holy Ghost. You are a special helper, and both of your children need you in their lives. Don't destroy your husband to your children. Don't destroy your wife to your children. Make sure that you are building an enabling environment for the growth of your family. Make your family grow better. I pray that is a huge prayer for me, that when families do well, our nations do well. Let's throw away all of the too much anger and ask for the strength of God to help us deal with our families.
Also, Fanesi, your thoughts. Family under the sound of our voice, going through struggle, children confused, father. Mother too is bitter, chaos everywhere, and they're listening to us. What would you want to tell them?
I think that every family must have some ground rules. Okay. One of the first things you can do is that both parents must at least agree on how to communicate when the children are there. Okay, so for example, if the conflict situation happened in the sight of the children, there must be some ground rules that have been already laid out. That when things like this happen, this is how we are going to deal with it. Okay, and secondly, you must also check yourself and check your spouse if they are obeying the ground rules that you have set. And if you must tell your children, you can do it without projecting your spouse as a demon. And sometimes we can also use body languages. Okay, what we can do is that if the children are there and then there's a conflict situation, one of our spouses is crossing a boundary, what we can do is that we can use pre-arranged body languages to let the person know that this thing that you are doing, you are crossing a particular boundary. Another thing we can also do is that we can also postpone discussions. Okay, sometimes it's better to wait when you are less angry to be able to deal with issues. Then we can also look at the privacy thing, where both of you decide that you will never quarrel in front of the children. So if there's an issue that you need to discuss, you can do it behind closed doors, far away from the children, so that the children will not at least get to know what's going on. Okay, I tell you that there are people who have been in homes and they've never heard their parents quarrel. It's not that they don't quarrel, they quarrel. But they have a subtle way of hiding it even from the children.
Also, for somebody who say that, well, that also doesn't paint a realistic picture to the children. They'll grow up thinking that marriage is supposed to be all rosy. What do you think about that?
So I mentioned that there are two types of conflicts we are talking about. We have healthy conflicts and then we have harmful conflict. With healthy conflict, this is when the conflict is not really harmful. Okay. This is when, after the conflict has happened, both of you can respectfully resolve the issue. Okay, and the children can learn a lot of things from it. They can learn conflict resolution skills and all of that. But the other one is where children must be
completely out of hand.
Okay.
Yes, some couple, they insult themselves. They use harsh words. Some of them, then sometimes it even leads to fight. All in front of the children. So it depends on the situation and the context. And we should know what to do at what point in time.
Right. Thank you very much, also for Anesi and Mama Thes. Uncle Ken is in the studio, is getting ready, but since we're wrapping up, this discussion tonight. We can't go without Uncle Ken sharing his thoughts. Uncle Ken, still on resolving conflicts and dealing with offenses in marriage. Today we've been looking at drawing children into conflict. So you have some thoughts to share.
Well, yeah. Luckily for me, I do not have too many conflicts. I stay away from conflict.
You are blessed then.
Yes.
I make an effort to stay away from conflict. Once or twice, yes.
Yes, it will happen, of course.
Words exchanged. But it is also nice for the children to see that an hour after that,
yes, you
resolve it.
Back together.
You're back speaking on speaking terms. So I think that's the best way to go. Like I said the other time, conflicts happen when people take others for granted.
Sure.
So if you can make sure that you make the effort not to take your partner for granted,
it sorts everything out.
It solves a lot of problems. I've learned a lot from the discussions these past 3 weeks. Some of the things I have never thought of. And luckily through the program I've come across certain things. If I happen to meet circumstances like that,
Sure.
I know how to
handle
them.
Wow.
Right.
It's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed.
Thank you. Thank you.
So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you very much, Uncle Ken. So that's Counselor Uncle Ken Addy for you. Right then, I want to say a big thank you to you, Mama Tess, and a big thank you to you, also for Anesi. God richly bless you.
Amen.
It's been very, very educative. I pray that this discussion we've had will heal homes and will make our society a better place. God richly bless you.
Amen.
Right.
Thank you very much.
So this is where we draw down the curtains.
Yes.
Many thanks to Mikaela and to you, Osofwe, for the wonderful production. Uncle Ken is going to be treating us to some beautiful, beautiful jazz music. Please don't flip the dial. Keep your dial locked here on 99.7. My name is Atuakwa, and I'm out.
The discerning ear and the spirit of radio bring lots of cheer in sweet, sweet stereo. Oh boy, boy, oh boy, that must surely be joy. Give it to